Hello, it has been quite a while since I last made a Blood Bowl video. I got distracted doing other things, but I am continuing, and so we are now looking at Season 4 of the Giant in the Playground Blood Bowl League, at which point we all restarted with completely new teams. So the Vampires of the Rodigal Gallery are gone. We are now looking at the Elves of Euphonic Cadence, alternatively known as Pro-Elves, to distinguish between the specific elf team and elves as just a general catch-all term for those agility 4 guys with the pointy ears who annoy you so much. So, because Season 3 of the League kind of stalled out partway through, it had been quite a while since I last played Blood Bowl at the time of this match, and so I was a bit rusty, which we will see having an effect on the match. Yeah, fairly standard setups. Got a touchback, camera's being annoying. And so, right. Well, that's a nice start, because of course, well, from my point of view it's a nice start, because of course this is a starting team, no skills, including no block. Of course you can get the 3 dice there with the croc skull. And Mighty Blow didn't actually affect the outcome there. Yes, so having been playing as vampires for 2.5 seasons, vampires being a team who are somewhat handicapped by their bloodlust, I wanted to play a team that's more just basically good at winning games, to give myself better chances of maybe winning a season of the league, showing off how great I am. Naturally that appeals to my ego, and so I ended up picking the elves. I mean, any sort of elves are good for if you want to win, because that agility 4 lets you just score so easily. Or at least it can feel very easy. And I've always liked the pro-elf team. They're interesting, with the blitzers with sidestep and the catchers with nerves of steel. I mean, the nerves of steel catchers, they're kind of the best catchers in the game. And it can make it so easy to get those touchdowns. So, yeah, and so I also kind of had the intention of, well, like I said, trying to show off. So I was intending not just to try and win, but also to try and be flashy, which, again, elves all the way for that. Partly because, well, I do have a fairly high opinion of my abilities at Blood Bowl, so switching to a strong team rather than the vampires who eat themselves, I feel, and I didn't necessarily need to put in as huge an effort to do well, which it sounds very conceited, I realise, but that was kind of how I felt. And so I should just try and be impressive. And of course, at times this can be problematic, where if I tried harder, then I might avoid some problems that can come about when I'm just trying to be flashy rather than efficient, but I still felt relatively confident that I could at least get into the playoffs, which is all that really matters, and then I'd start putting in I would, as I put on the try-hard pants and give it my all. This doesn't actually affect much of how I play, except that I'm much less inclined to kind of burn the clock. You know, if I have the ball and can score, I will actually do it rather than delaying for however many turns to give my opponent less chance to equalise. Which, of course, I did tend to do with the vampires, because they're, as I've been saying, they're kind of handicapped by bloodlust, and so I felt I had to really try to make sure I was getting as much as I could out of them in that sort of regard. Whereas the elves, it's different. Also, of course, I mean, if you think of the sort of the standard approach, it can be kind of expected that, you know, elves can just score in a couple of turns and then they pass it over to the stronger, less agile team who may well be trying to slowly cage and grind their way up the pitch, burning down the clock, as I've been kind of referring to. But the thing is, the elves with their agility and ability, unfortunate dice rolls there, the elves with their maneuverability and agility can potentially be pretty good at taking their chances to take the ball away from the stronger team and get another touchdown on defense. And so it's actually, for all that I've been saying, I was thinking of it as potentially the less efficient approach. It can be very effective. And so here I'm figuring I'll go for this skink because, partly because he's a scoring threat, but also partly just because he's an easy target. Because he's, you know, deep into my half, I can surround him like this and get 3 dice splits on him. Of course, very handy because the Croxigorfeld is bonehead. He doesn't have a tackle zone, so I don't have to dodge away from him. Very useful because he has that prehensile tail, which makes dodging away from him more difficult. Now here, of course, I am being careful to do all the non-risky things first, the moves that don't require any dice rolls at all. Oh right, I'm not actually taking about 3 dice splits on the skink. I thought I was. Maybe I should have. You know, with the 3rd dice I might have actually knocked over a skink, but on the other hand, this allows me to just get in on the ball carrier. It's not overly likely that that skink Ravi is going to score. Now I have my sidestepping blitzer next to the ball carrier, which is a nice bit of harassment. And this is the kind of approach that I've ended up liking to take with this team. It's very single-minded, to be honest. I pretty much where is the ball? Going for the ball. The ball is in the middle of the cage, hit the cage. Sometimes, well, sometimes other people might take the safer option of taking out scoring threats, but then the thing is, I don't necessarily mind if my opponents score quickly, because then that gives me a chance to score myself, more time to do it. Yes, so that's the thing, and attacking where the ball is, really, they can be kind of forced to do something about it, which often means either they score quickly or they risk not scoring at all. And so that's the approach I like to take. Because either way, I have decent chances of getting the ball, because either they score quickly and then they have to we set up for a new drive and they have to kick the ball to me, giving me obvious chances to score, or they try and delay and I'll keep harassing them and hopefully just take the ball away like that. Blocking skink does work, but it was a risk. And he's a few players did it. It's a shame about the stun, but this works. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't try to dodge that guy away. I mean, there can be a case to be made for deliberately marking up Saurus. Saurai? Probably Saurai is the correct plural. Although if we're appropriating the word into English, Sauruses could be equally fine. So, yes, there can be a case to be made for marking up the Saurai. Because they have agility 1, so they really can't dodge. But on the other hand, just marking up 1 is, unless that 1 is in a significant position, it's not really going to matter. And Luke there was not really in a significant position, so marking him rather than running away was just giving him a chance to hit me. So, yes, now, of course, after my long spiel about how I just focus on going for where the ball is rather than the scoring threats, I did just hit the scoring threat there. The difference is, it's just he was an easier target. And I could get him with a guy who has block, which is, this is a significant thing with starting teams. I have 2 blitzers, they have block, and that's all the block that I have. Once I start skilling up more players, then I'll have much more versatility with who is actually good at hitting people. But until then, block, particularly because the skinks all have dodge. So if I hit them with just a regular guy, I get 2 dice, but it's only defender down result that will really work for me, because a both down would knock me over as well. and end my turn. So the blitzes are really significant before the team starts to develop, and even after it does, because they will presumably be developing alongside the rest of the team. So now I'm just trying to set up kind of a screen. Petrushka is there specifically so that if Mercury fails his attempt to dodge away from the Croxagore, I'm still covering that line. And using up all my rerolls on dodges, which is rather unfortunate. That's all 3 rerolls gone in 3 turns on dodges, which I probably didn't need to do. Elves are supposed to be good at dodging. Yeah, I mean, those 1 in 6 chances will happen. But yeah, as I was saying, I probably didn't need to reroll all those dodges that I've rerolled. It may have been considered a waste. I might well not have done it if I were playing this game now. Though, of course, in some ways it can be liberating to be out of rerolls, because then you don't have to agonize over whether or not to use one. You just know that you don't have the choice. If you fail something, it's failed. So here, obviously, this is the thing. He's caging up with the skinks as part of the cage, which is understandable. He only has so many Saurus and 1 Croxagore, 4 Saurus and 1 Croxagore. But it does mean that I inevitably have some easy targets. Now, okay, Ravi and Koyash are both potential scoring threats there. So this is where some of the stuff I was talking about really comes into play. I may well mark them, but it's entirely possible that I will, in fact, choose to hit past Boulder in the cage there, harass the ball carrier, giving him, as I kind of talked about, that choice of score quickly or not at all. And again, of course, here I'm doing the moves with no dice rolls first. Yeah, as I said. And the knockout is very fortunate there, because it allows me to move up into the square he was previously occupying, where I'm putting a tackle zone on the ball carrier, but I am not opening myself up to be blocked by a Saurus. So now, yeah, a complex scenario there is marking move to make it more difficult for the Saurus to get rid of Tristan. now I just want to be marking up these skinks as much as I really can. Adagio, I think I'm leaving there to mark Apollo, or actually I might be about to hit Apollo with Eucrates. Not sure. Let's mark up the croc score. Now, as a side note, of course, the team Euphonic Cadence, there's a general music theme. I mean, I give them the motto: the game is a symphony, and we are the virtuosos. It's, again, feeding to what I was saying about how I kind of wanted to try and be flashy with this team. And Euphonic Cadence kind of occurred to me as a neat sounding name, and then I went with this general sort of music theme. Now, I was counting how far into the half I want Orpheus to be, so that he's a scoring threat should I get the ball next turn. Pretty sure I'm not going to get the ball, but this is the thing. I make sure that threat is in place as one more means of discouraging the lizard men from stalling. Yes, so the music theme also applies to my players' names. So you'll see like the linemen, there's like Locrian and Aeolian, which are the names of modes in music. Complex sonori, Petrushka, things like this, names of sort of odd chords. Canon and Adagio pieces of music. I did actually have specific pieces of music in mind. I think it was the Alcanone's Adagio in G minor and Pachelbel's Canon, which is fairly famous. But in general, they're more generic names of pieces of music, and then the positionals are named after more specific pieces of music which have names that I thought sounded cooler, or that are actually names. So we have Mars and Mercury from Holst's Planet Suite. Let's see, the Tristan, as in the opera Tristan and Isolde by Wagner. Orpheus, as in Orpheus in the Underworld. Eucrates is... Pancrates and Eucrates are the sorcerer and apprentice in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I can't remember which is which. And yes, I think that's all my names. There will, of course, be more players getting added as we go along. So here, of course, he's put his strong players all on the front line, which does make it difficult for me to get favourable blocks on them, because it's your strength 4 and 5 and I'm only strength 3, but not impossible. So yes, because of the prehensile tail, I really don't want anyone in base-to-base contact with the Croxigor because it would be difficult to move them away. Extra reroll. Kickoff table results kind of evening out. Yeah, I don't really want anyone in contact with the Croxigor, but I equally don't want the Croxigor to be able to just freely move around, which is why Petrushka and Cannon are standing just in front of it, so that if it wants to move into my half, it would have to dodge. So, that's a skink. General principle for fighting lizardmen: attack the skinks. They are much more breakable than the Saurus, and also they're the ones who have agility 3, whereas the Saurus and Croxigor are agility 1. So if you can manage to get the skinks off the pitch, then that's pretty much it. The lizardmen more or less can't score at that point. In theory they can, sure, but in practice it's not really going to happen. And so I've sent... Mars is in scoring range with 2 going for it, where he is. And he's also harassing those skinks. And Orpheus is in scoring range without going for it. So here I'm trying to set up a bit of a cage for once I've picked up the ball. And also some screening, and I'm sending Mercury up to be another scoring threat, and also harassing the skink. And there we go, the ball is nice and safe there. Locrian does not want to be staring down those Saurus. Let's just move them out. Yeah, it's not such a tight cage, and yes, this time it's really not that important for that dodge to work. Yeah, it's not such a tight cage, but that's not necessarily a problem. In some ways it can be better this way, because it means that if they hit Petrushka or Tristan, push them and follow up, they're not immediately in contact with the ball carrier. Still need another dodge, and of course this would be riskier against a more agile team. If I was playing against another elf team, then they can potentially get into those places, particularly wood elves or any other elves that just have a player take leap as one of their skills on a level up. They can just leap into one of those empty spaces and hit Eucrates. But in this case, the players that can dodge are the skinks, and they're not so good at hitting people. But in this case, yeah, he can get into Eucrates. But if he'd only pushed Petrushka, he wouldn't have been able to get in. Or if I'd managed to have another player around that side, playing a similar role to Adagio on the right-hand side. I had these options. So interesting. Yeah, that makes it a lot more difficult and unlikely that I can score from this. Although not impossible. I could use Mars to blitz Navi and thus give Orpheus that free line out. Because of course my catchers have Nerves of Steel, I don't care how many tackle zones they're in for catching the ball. It's just that I need to get them out afterwards. So you see, I'm looking at this. Potentially a risky play, but I think at this point I felt like it was going to be hard for me to hold on to a sort of solid position. And so therefore maybe I should just go for the quick touchdown. Giving it a lot of thought. I don't know, I probably could, if I wanted to delay things more, set up somewhat securely. Tristan could blitz Luke off there, and I could set something up, but the Saurus are very much encroaching. So the quick touchdown does seem like a pretty good idea. And yep, here we go. It's only a push, but I can manage with that. And then, yep, put Mars back in contact with the Saurus to help defend against it should something go wrong. Inti out of the way. Oh dear lord, I'm running short on time here. Tristan mark the Croxagore to guard against that. And here we go. Catch, Nerves of Steel, I care not about your tackle zones. Dodge out and run in the touchdown. And that is the kind of flashy play that I was talking about that I really wanted to be able to do with this team. So it was nice that I got that kind of going early on. Indeed, in my first match. Now, it's 1-1. Oh yeah, of course, the other point of consideration is, well, that I was saying, I wasn't planning on killing the clock with this team. I still was wanting to keep an eye on how much time was left at any given moment. And so I'll wait until those men are set up. Because where it says 7 out of 16 at this point, it only shows one turn counter, and I don't know whose it is. It's always confusing for me. But I think this means it's his turn 7, which means he has 2 turns to score, which can of course be done. He certainly has the movement for it, but it's difficult for lizard men to score safely in 2 turns because they can't really pass that well, because stunty is a penalty to passing, among its other aspects. So I've managed to kick deep. Yeah, it's their turn 7. So they have 2 turns to get the ball almost the full length of the pitch, which, like I say, is going to require passing. And agility 3 with a -1 on passing from stunty, the odds are not good. Has to use the reroll there to avoid the turnover. And so here's the thing. He needs to have people in the scoring range by the end of this turn. So, like, if that block, where he got the both down attacker down, of course would have knocked him over, and he has no one in scoring range, which would have ensured that he could not score. Could not get that 2-1 going into the second half. Now, and of course now, he has no reroll for this play, which is going to require him to pass the ball. So there we go, scoring range. And scoring range. Yeah, as it turns out, it's just too far for him to be able to make going for it and the handoff. So I'm going to, of course, send in my own scoring threats and also attempts to harass the ball carrier, particularly since they can get there without rolling any dice. Mark up the players who could interfere with them. these skinks. And Saurus. Blitz, and of course I could have come from the other side with Tristan, but I wanted to be sure that I was pushing the skink away from my end zone. Also, this left Tristan free to go there. I've always kind of liked being able to do plays like that, where enemy ball carriers deep in their own half, and I can just run a player up to kind of go, "Hi, how are you doing?" Just standing here with the ball, yeah. Okay, that's a KO. It's not. Yeah, stands a decent chance of coming back. He has 2 KO players, I have 1. I haven't been checking, but I assume that neither of us has any reserves. I'm sure that I don't. I won't have started my players. I will have started my team with just 11 players. And I assume he did the same. So okay, this is good by him. He has managed to get tackle zones off best. There we go. Fails the handoff. Ball scatters back to Ravi, who catches it, which means the ball is now stuck there, where I can quite easily attack it. No guarantees that said attack will work, but I can go for it. And the double skulls. Shame it couldn't be from the Croxagore. He's more of a problem for how he's defending the ball carrier. But yeah, I can cancel out the assist from Bast and get Mars in to blitz Ravi. And that's what I want to do. Okay. Well, I guess I'm just assuming that I'm definitely going to be scoring with Tristan. No chance of it being Orpheus. Yeah, I had Orpheus mark the wrong skink. No rerolls, so I have to do this. Now see if I can beat up any Saurus. Potentially. Another assist. I can 2-dice this Saurus. It doesn't actually matter. Go on past me. You don't need to think about this so hard. It doesn't matter where he assists from, because this is the last turn of the half. I'm not willing to risk the both down when he has armor 9 and I have armor 7. Turn, end of half. My skink wakes up, my lineman wakes up. So this should mean that I'm going to have 11 players against 10, I think. So I also want kind of a similar setup to last time. Same sort of thing again. Okay, the referee is dead. So this should be looking good for me. You know, it's a tie going into the second half and I'm receiving. But let's see how things actually play out. Oh, I'm also a player up. And so once again, hit a skink, establish scoring threats. Set up some ball defenses in advance. Take my one block on the line of scrimmage. So I can now send up Tristan to interfere with these skinks, and Mercury is presumably going to be another scoring threat in a minute. Leaving kind of again, not a tight cage, but more of a sort of minefield of tackle zones. Which a Saurus will not be able to dodge through. Or a Croxodon. Skink, sure, but the skink is not good at blitzing. I mean, this is something which I know I potentially need to reconsider about my play, is that I don't necessarily need to run my thrower up as far as he can get, as I've kind of done here. It's taking advantage of the dead referee to get a foul, didn't do anything. Yeah, because I can be pretty good at the long pass, so it can potentially be better to just have my thrower hang back, not requiring, out of reach of the enemy team, not requiring extra players to guard him, and then just be prepared to throw that long pass. Regardless, this is what I've done. Cannon is probably going to get blitzed. That would be my guess. He's kind of the vulnerable point here. a sign that I possibly could have thought this through better. Oh, nope. Going back and blitzing Orpheus. Still scoring range, if I want to go for it. Maybe I don't want to go for it, maybe I just want to... that's more of a problem. But I still have plenty of options. Once again, I am rapidly surrounded by Sauri. No one expects the skinks to hit you. It's very confusing. They do. But still, I'm gonna just stand up. Mark said skinks. Because now I have to go the long way around. Whereas if Mars hadn't followed up, it would have been an easier option. Maybe I should have made that a blitz. Could have hit it up towards the end zone. I'm not entirely sure what I'm playing at here. I can block my way out of trouble here. It's not unreasonable. There we go. Push is all we needed. Dice here. Would have preferred better than a push on that one. Now I can't so safely hit the Croxigal. That's more of a problem. Can't get more than a push on this turn, apparently. And this is making quite a difference. If I'd knocked any of these players over, it would give me routes that I could take without needing to dodge. And potential safer places that I could move the ball to. As a result. As it is, there are still tackle zones all over. But sometimes you have to deal with this sort of luck. This is worrying. It does feel very much like I'm generally being encroached upon. One thing I could consider here, which is not something I would generally do, But under these circumstances I could just give the ball to Mercury and have him run deep into the enemy half. Okay, so going to mark up the source. I mean, yeah, looking at it, I imagine if I ran Mercury deep into the enemy half, probably it might well end up that he'd just end up getting blitzed by a bunch of skinks ganging up on him. But no, sticking to the more standard approach, which is running the scoring threat first. And now spot the mistake. You have until it is exploited to spot it. I leave this as a challenge for the viewer. Examine my formation and see if you can see a hole in it which can potentially be exploited. I mean, having Petrushka there was potentially significant because, well, not really, because no one else other than you could get round. There you go. That is the big problem, which, more in practice, I don't think I would have overlooked. At least the ball is still in 2 of my tackle zones. At least the ball is still in 1 of my tackle zones. But it's probably about to be in a few of his also, which may make it a challenge for me to try and get it back. This is why it's important to stay in practice if you want to win matches, so that you don't make stupid mistakes like I just did. There we go, his ball. Not perfect, but there was only so much he could do, and this is pretty reasonable, and there we go. There is that. You would, if Aeolian wants to try and dodge away and blitz Koyash, because of he'll be dodging into a tackle zone and away from a prehensile tail, making it 4 that he needs rather than the usual 2. Well, this is... well, if he can dodge into... yeah, he'd have to go... okay, now he can't blitz, and Aeolian also can't. The skinks, for all that they're squishy, can do just fine as just standing in the way. Yeah, so just have to do what we can. So that's the tackle zone on the ball carrier. Something at least that he'll have to deal with. and this is my approach. I'm not actually entirely sure that this is the most likely for it to work way that I could do it, but regardless I would have failed somewhere, however I was trying to do it. So it's a question of whether making more easier rolls is more likely than making less hard rolls. I'd have to put the numbers into some action calculator to be sure. And there we go. And so that mistake by me has led me to concede this touchdown. Gotta say, I don't think I would be taking the risks that he is at this point, were I in his position. I would take the touchdown, not risk that I might roll a bunch of skulls. He fouls my thrower to death. I don't have an apothecary. But at least I have to look on the bright side, and at least I have time to equalise, so I can still salvage a draw out of this, particularly since I am still receiving. However, it's easy to think that I maybe should have been winning rather than drawing this game. So now he's, based on how things have gone previously, he's obviously wanting to defend his skinks a bit more closely, rather than just putting all his strength on the front line. So, first point of order is I do not want Mars to be up there, down there rather, as the designated person to collect the ball. Now, the advantage of him having not put all his strength on the front line is that now I have an easier time getting favourable blocks. Kick, nice. And so yeah, I'll put a catcher under it since he can reroll catch. Didn't need to. And now immediately make sure that the ball is defended, particularly since I'm about to move Adagio. And there we go. Favourable block on Saurus. With block, no less. Let's go over here to Skink. Can't do anything. Don't follow up because I want Aeolian to be in a more defensive position. Covering so that Huitzilopochtli can't have too easy an approach to my ball carrier. Not entirely sure why I sent Mercury there instead of Lockroom, but never mind. I suppose they were both going to be there anyway because I had the foul planned. Neither of us managed to get much out of those bribes. And now, of course, since I'm looking to salvage a draw rather than get a win, I am going to be more cautious than I was before. Not necessarily just go all out for fast touchdown. Tie up the Croxagore with linemen rather than let him move in and blitz Mars. And there we go. Everything is fairly safe. But I do want to hold on for a little while longer. Excellent for me. And Lona does not let him re-roll, which all adds up to a very short turn for the Sun's children. Now at this point, I'm much safer under these circumstances because I've been kind of beating up his strong players, leaving him with the skinks who are not going to be so effective at trying to break into a cage. Plus, where his strong players are ending up on the ground, when they stand up, they won't have enough movement to necessarily get to the ball carrier, wherever he may be. Suddenly, I can manage to advance him off the pitch, which I'm obviously kind of going for here. Leaving him again with just his skinks to try and do stuff. And they're getting marked up quite nicely. Although I was only able to push that skink, it's still positionally significant. This side, and Mercury will. Finally, I actually have to make another dice roll at this point. Mercury is going to mess up the approach from this side. I have messed this up a bit because there is a line for Huitzilopochtli to take. But as it turns out he gets that and this. Not sure if I'd take the push or the both down under these circumstances. Yeah, that was a mistake on my part, because I looked at it and saw that there wasn't a line that Saurus could take as things stood, but of course he was able to just move Amaterasu and thus open up the line. I saw that there wasn't a line if he didn't move any of his other players, but obviously he can't move them. So I should have put Aeolian one square further down, so then Huitzilopochtli would have needed to dodge. It's not necessarily the most efficient way of doing this. But it works. And generally, 2 dice blocks and blitzes are actually more likely to work than just stuff on single, stuff like dodge rolls, because those are just single d6s that you're rolling. And so here, as I was kind of saying, because I'm just looking for a draw here, now I am going to quite possibly burn the clock. The only thing he can do here is try to hit me with skinks. Sure, let's... Actually, no, I was considering taking that 2 red dice. Okay, I do actually take the 2 red dice. Because, you know, with block against no block, it's not too unreasonable. I suppose that Saurus is well out of range, even though I knocked myself over. And, of course, this is the point that allows me to try this. And just make things a little bit more difficult for him again. Okay. That does free up that Saurus, so he can move towards the ball. And the Crocodile has gotten closer. Fails going for it. So now I'm going to be safe. And so there, obviously I was just looking at where different players can get to and so on. Croxigor is now stuck because Mercury is in the tackle zone and the Croxigor can't dodge. Huitzilopochtli does not have movement, which means that once again all I have to worry about is skinks. And both I can beat up a bit. And I'm actually going to market the Croxigor some more just to give it worse chances of beating me up. I'm not entirely sure why I had Complex hit Ravi instead of Bast. I suppose it's, again, Croxigor. Well, it makes a certain amount of sense because I feel pretty much entirely safe at this juncture as far as the ball is concerned. Not even taking those. 2 red dice, and okay, down I go. Now, all I can do is, well, all he can do rather, it's, okay, he's got that threat, but it's unlikely to come to him. So, and he's not even actually trying for the ball, given which I'm not entirely sure what the point of the scoring threat is. I suppose he has one more turn. But yeah, essentially, since he's not going for the ball, I have got the draw here. Yes, so he has managed to bring in tackles on there, but on the ball carrier, but it's very easily dealt with, obviously. And the game is drawn. Nothing really more to say at this point. I'm just going to set up the 3 players on the front line and shift everyone else back. It is theoretically possible for a one-turn touchdown to be done by Lizard Men, but it's exceedingly unlikely. Particularly with the 3 players. I'm not actually entirely sure how it's affected by the 3 players on the front line being all together or divided up in different ways. Well, that weather change will certainly make a huge difference to the outcome of this match, I am sure. So that was my first game of Season 4. First game with Euphonic Cadence. Still kind of figuring out how I wanted to be playing them and making some stupid mistakes because I was rusty at the game in general. But it still came out of a draw. And I was starting to get a handle on them by the end. The next match in the main league I will be making a video of is my third match. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to switch back and forth between main league and legacy league, or do all my main league stuff first and then the legacy league. And yes, clearly I made a mistake and didn't set up my players far enough back to stop them being blitzed, but it ended up not mattering because of the double skulls there. To all, given that I wasn't playing at my best, I suppose it's acceptable. Pretty good even. And annoyance of all annoyances, my MVP goes to my dead thrower. Thank you for watching, see you in the next one.